Right now at 4, thieves break into an Aurora liquor store twice in one night.
This is the kind of lawlessness that we're experiencing, not just in Aurora, but really throughout Colorado.
And it has left members of one community fearing for their safety.
People are terrified, especially a lot of our small business owners. Am I next? And is the next incident going to take somebody's life?
Animal rescues are dealing with a new type of call, pet overdoses. How animals are getting into the drugs and how they can be saved. And you may have noticed lately that more restaurants are combining cultures on their menus. We hear one chef's inspiration to add Hispanic flavor to traditional American dishes.
Plus, Colorado voters will decide on the fate of psychedelic mushrooms this November. Activists hope our state learns from mistakes made when marijuana was legalized.
Where social equity was an afterthought, where even right now social equity applicants are struggling to even succeed.
Thank you for joining us today at 4. I'm Micah Smith. The owner of an Aurora liquor store says he no longer feels safe after 2 robberies in a matter of minutes this weekend. The dramatic moments were caught on surveillance video yesterday morning as the first group of thieves used a stolen Hummer to ram the front door, and the second group came in while the owner was waiting outside for officers to arrive. The owner of the store is Ethiopian, and the community believes more attacks could come. This morning, Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman met with the owners to see the damage at G&E Liquor near Iliff Tower. He acknowledges a shortage of officers, but blames statewide law enforcement policies for increased crime.
We have areas that are out of control here. And so we've got to take back this city, and we are in the search for another police chief. I want somebody who's tough on crime. We've got to take back this city, street by street, block by block.
Aurora police have not responded to our request for comment, but yesterday said they were still looking for the thieves. The store owner tells us his business will be shut down for at least a week, and leaders in the Ethiopian community say they're still afraid their businesses will be next. Coming up tonight on Denver 7 News at 6, we'll hear from the owner of that liquor store and look at police response times in the city. Today, we learned 4 victims of a possibly gang-related hit-and-run in Golden this weekend were employees of the restaurant where the incident took place. Now, this happened early yesterday morning at the Rock Rest Lodge off South Golden Road. 1 person was killed and 7 others injured. 26-year-old Adrian Ponce was identified as the person killed. A manager at the lodge says this started as an altercation between several people and escalated. 2 men have been arrested, but their mugshots have not been released yet. Denver police have an alert out to try and find the person who shot 2 people near the intersection of 31st and Downing last Wednesday. Now, this is one of those victims who died. His name has not been released. The other victim is still in the hospital. Police have not said what led to the shooting, but want to hear from you if you have any information.
The newsfeed starts with violent protests in Iran. It's all over the death of a woman in police custody. At least 185 people have been killed in the protests, according to human rights organizations. Russian missile strikes hitting the Ukrainian capital of Kiev for the first time in months. Russian President Vladimir Putin also accusing the Ukrainians of an attack on a key bridge linking Russia to occupied Crimea. Amazon is being sued for selling what 2 families are calling suicide kits. The families of 2 teens say they bought the deadly chemical sodium nitrate on the website, then used it to take their own lives. Amazon says that chemical is legal to sell, but can be misused. Now, we are looking further into the president's move to pardon federal simple marijuana possession convictions. Experts say it's the most significant cannabis reform move by any U.S. president. The order also initiates a process to review how marijuana is scheduled under federal law and for those reviews to be done expeditiously.
I think it's pretty safe to say that the Department of Justice and the Department of Health and Human Services will likely do this before the end of the president's first term.
About 6,500 people have been convicted of federal marijuana possession over the past decade. While no one is in prison for those charges alone, the pardons could open up more opportunity.
Unfortunately, a pardon does not remove the criminal record itself, but it still helps people move on with their lives in the sense that they can now show a pardon, which might allow them to now get housing, to get a job, to get licensing, to really improve their lives.
Since the president's order only applies to federal marijuana cases, governors are being called on to reform marijuana policies. Almost half of states have passed laws to expunge or seal prior low-level cannabis convictions. Even more have decriminalized marijuana. The overdose epidemic has now reached our nation's pets, how they are being exposed to opioids and the drugs that drive even more calls into animal poison control.
As we get closer to Election Day, one issue on the November ballot voters will decide on is Proposition 122. Now, this asks voters if psychedelic mushrooms should be regulated and sold in Colorado. But within the movement for legalization, there's a divide over how equitable the proposition is for communities of color. I talked to Melanie Rose Rogers, who is a psilocybin activist. She says the measure lacks input from Coloradans of color and doesn't go far enough on expungement for previous convictions.
Could we learn from the mistakes of cannabis, where social equity was an afterthought, where even right now social equity applicants are struggling to even succeed in this $5 billion Colorado industry now over the years?
Tonight at 6, you'll hear more from Rogers and why she says Proposition 122 should be placed on hold. You'll also hear from another activist of color who disagrees with Rogers and says equity was top of mind when crafting the proposition. President Biden will make a visit to Colorado on Wednesday to designate Camp Hale in Eagle County as a national monument. Camp Hale is located near Leadville. It served as the training site for the 10th Mountain Division, which fought in the mountains of Italy during World War II. Applications are now open for the Denver Basic Income Project. The project provides direct cash to 820 individuals experiencing homelessness in Denver. They raised $7 million with the help from partners, and the city is providing $2 million, made possible by pandemic funding through the American Rescue Plan Act. The project's founder says the selection process will be random.
People will be placed into 3 different groups. One group will get $6,500 up front and then $500 a month for 11 months. A second group will get $1,000 a month for 12 months.
The application process is open through November 3rd at 5 p.m. Well, it's one of the most recognizable mountains from the Front Range, and it could soon have a new name. After the break, the name Mount Evans could be changed to.